Hello everyone, welcome to this lesson on computer basics. My name is Neil Washington. I'm the computer research assistant here at the Trenton Area Soup Kitchen. This lesson is designed for people who are new to using computers, teach them some basic things to become more familiar with some concepts and get you started with being more confident with using a computer. Specifically, after this lesson, you'll be more familiar with common computer terms, more confident with navigating the desktop, and you'll know how to start and shut down a computer. So if you're new to computers and you hear people throwing out some terms and just talking about how they're using computers, it can be a little overwhelming, and this lesson is designed just to start off with talking about some basic things so that you'll start being able to be more independent, get on a computer yourself, know how to do these things, and it should be a step in the right direction for you. So we're going to start off with going over some of the terms, and one of them is a desktop computer. It is a computer which you've probably seen before. It's at a lot of offices and libraries, and some people have it at their houses as well. It's a computer that has a separate monitor, which you can see in the middle there, or you could call it a screen too. It's just like the TV screen, and it's where you see what's going on. The processor, or you could call it the computer case, which is on the left side of the screen. You don't have to know too much about what's going on inside of it, but basically it's where the operations or processes are being performed, which actually make the computer do whatever we're commanding it to do, or whatever it's being told. The keyboard, it's where you type. You could type characters or numbers or lots of other things, but it's one of the ways a computer receives input. And the mouse, which is on the right side of the screen, it's how you move the cursor around the screen, which is like the little pointer you move around to click on things, to move things around. So the keyboard and mouse are an example of two ways of interacting with the screen and inputting information as well. A laptop computer, in contrast to the desktop, a laptop has all those things which we just mentioned: the monitor, keyboard, and mouse. They're all in the same unit. It's all there in that picture. There's a screen which you can see. There's a keyboard below it, and then there's a tracking pad below the keyboard. Depending on what laptop you get, it might be somewhere else, but the tracking pad in most laptops is how you're able to move the cursor or pointer around. But you always have the option to attach the traditional mouse that looks like this as well. The big advantage of a laptop is that it is portable, since all those components are there in that one package. You can just pick it up and move it if you feel like working in a different room in your house. If you feel like working from a different location, going to a library or cafe or any of those places that are open when they're open again and allowing people to work from them. All the information you save on the laptop will be there wherever you move it. So it is convenient for a lot of people to be using a laptop rather than a desktop. I already mentioned the monitor, just to make it clear. This is a part of the computer called the monitor. If you have a desktop, you'll have to attach a wire to the monitor to be able to connect it to the processor, so that it's receiving information and displaying the information from the processor. The desktop is part of, it's what you see on the computer screen when the computer starts up. It's kind of like the backdrop of everything that's happening. It's where you're able to access a lot of files and programs and folders. It's a helpful area just to begin working from. On the desktop, on the last picture, you would have seen icons on the left side or wherever the icons happen to be. But what you're seeing now on the slide are what we call icons. They're representations of computer programs. So they're pretty much just the way we access a computer program or open up a computer program is by double-clicking on the icon on the desktop. If you watched the last lesson, you'll know that double-clicking is just clicking 2 times quickly with the left side of the mouse, and that will open up the program. If you're working from the taskbar, which is on the bottom, you would click the icon once in that case. Moving on to the next term, we're going to talk about windows. So a window is the straight definition you can see there, an area of the screen that displays information for a specific program independent of other parts of the screen. So what that pretty much means is that a window is, you can see here that this is a Spotify window. It's where we're able to interact and use Spotify, to choose how to use it however we want. And windows are able to be made into different sizes. You can have multiple ones open at the same time. You can have one to take up the whole screen. And we'll be getting into that a little bit later. The next term is the taskbar, which I mentioned before. It's usually a strip at the bottom of your screen. It's similar to the desktop. It has icons on it, which provide ways to open up programs. I said on the desktop you need to double-click the program, but if you're using the taskbar to open up a program, you only need to click once. It's a little bit easier in some ways. If you have Windows open or a window taking up the full screen, the taskbar will still be available to you at the bottom of the screen to open up another program if you want to. And for the desktop and the taskbar, it's whatever programs you choose to put there. I'll probably be mentioning it in a future lecture, how to make your life easier on a computer by choosing what programs you want to create shortcuts for, how to move them around. But for now, just know that this is a way to open up the program that you're trying to use, just through these icons. The system tray is on the taskbar. It's on the right side, so it's usually on the bottom right of the screen. And it's helpful because it's a way to perform some common functions which you want to do, which we usually want to do on computers, like adjusting the volume, raising it or lowering it. It's got the date and time there. It's got the battery life displayed, and it's also how you would usually connect to the internet. There's usually an icon. In the case of what's on the slide, you can see the 4 bars that are different sizes. You click on that and then you find the network you're trying to connect to. and you would click on that. And we're also going to have a specific future lesson on how to connect to the internet, and I'll go into more depth in that lecture. The Start menu is the central launching point for programs and tasks on a Windows computer. In this picture, it's Windows 8, I think. It might look different depending on which version of Windows you have. You click on the icon on the bottom left of the screen. It looks like the Windows symbol. It's got those 4 different swirly squares, and it opens up a menu of all the programs. So unlike the desktop or taskbar, which just has which programs we decide to save there, the Start menu has every single program installed on the computer. So if you're having trouble maybe opening up a program, or you're finding the program on the desktop or taskbar, it might be because you don't have it saved there. So you can always find it through the Start menu. So the Start menu is really helpful in that way. It's also a way to access some different features of your computer, like accessing the settings, or in the older versions of Windows, it's called the control panel, which is just a way to change some features, personalizing it, and that will be part of a future lecture as well, with how to adjust the settings and get more in depth with personalizing the Windows experience. So in this picture on the screen, there's a program open. It's called Microsoft Excel. If you opened it from the desktop, you would have double-clicked it. And we're going to get into how to change the window size, how to minimize it, maximize it, or close it out in the next few slides. You can see that where the arrow points to this box, it's got 3 different little symbols. There's a horizontal line, a square box, and an X. The horizontal line is how to minimize a program. If you press it, the program won't close. It will just not be displayed anymore. And to open it up again, the easiest way to do it would be to go to the taskbar. It will show that it's open in the taskbar, and then click on it, and it will open up the program again. The square box is how to maximize or go full screen, so that the window isn't just displayed on part of the screen, but it takes up the full screen. And the X is how to close the program out entirely. You'll want to have your work saved, because it won't be accessible anymore unless it's saved and you open up the program again. This is just an example of full screen view. You can see that we now have Spotify taking up the full screen. There are still the 3 symbols in the top right, except the middle one is now 2 squares, and that's how you would adjust it down to just part of the screen again. Which is also called window view, which you can see here, where the window is taking up part of the screen, and you can see parts of the desktop behind it. This is circling back to one of the things we said before. It's got some better images of the system tray functions, which are usually in the bottom right. You can see the day and time there again. You can see that if the on the left image, if the 4-bar icon is clicked, it will open up this menu here of networks to connect to. It will show you if you're connected to one, what the status is. So it's not the only way to connect to the internet, but it's easiest because it's the quickest and it's easily accessible from the system tray there. Like I mentioned before, there's usually a symbol there for battery life that's in the middle image. It will show if the computer is currently plugged in and charging and how much battery life is available. And this is helpful because if you do have a laptop, you're going to want to make sure that it doesn't always have to be charged, but you don't really want it ever to get low on battery, because when it does get low, there is the potential just for it to finally run out, and the computer will shut down then, and potentially you could lose work. So the best practice is just to usually to keep it plugged in or with a high battery life. And I think my face might be taking up part of this, but there's also the volume. It's usually the little speaker symbol. You can see based on the bar what the volume is at, and you can adjust it to the volume that you would like to have. And taking a step back again, just to show you the Windows 10 start menu versus the earlier versions. Windows 10 is on the left. It looks a little bit more sleek, I think, and the start menu always has all the programs, so just like the earlier versions, you can see all the programs there. But instead of those other options like computer control panel, which are on the earlier versions, the little gear icon is the settings, which has taken place of the control panel. And later on, we're going to be talking about how to log off or shut down or restart the computer. And for both versions, you do it from the start menu. So I'm going to leave that there for now. All right, here we are, starting up and shutting down. One of the reasons we do this is to manage your computer's activity level. In general, it's not good to leave a computer running all the time, whether it's a desktop or a laptop, unless you're going to be coming back to it fairly soon. But overnight, for example, it's usually best to shut it down and then start it up again when you go to it the next day. So computers have different options. This little red box shows some of the options that appear when you click next to log off. This is an earlier version of Windows. If we were with Windows 10, there'd be the icon there to show the options. I'm just going to cover a few of them. They're the main ones that people use, and they're the most useful. Depending on if you share a computer, there might be different accounts. So logging off would be a way for you to log out of one account and be able to open up a different account. Restarting is a way for the computer to shut down and then start back up again with the same command. And shutting down is just so it is shutting down, but it's similar to turning the power off. You could also do it by pressing the power button on the computer. usually people recommend using the shutdown from the start menu. It's a way to make sure that updates are going to get installed that Windows puts out. And the same with restarting. It's usually a time for the computer to be updated. So the best practice is to use those two methods for either shutting down or restarting the computer rather than using the power button, which is on the computer. Um, so we're going to leave it at there today. I think this is a good lesson just to talk about some basic parts of a computer if you're new to computers. I have my contact information there. If you are interested in learning about computers or you're having a problem. And I think that with this video being available online, if there was something that maybe confused you or went over too quickly, you can go back and rewatch it. I think that this will be, if you are new and you wanted to learn more, I think this will have been a insightful experience for you.